Hey guys, my name is Steven Sharif and I'm the creative director here at Intrepid Studios. We're working on an upcoming MMORPG named Ashes of Creation. And I'm pretty excited to share with you today on this Kickstarter what we're all about. Ashes of Creation is an open world, non-faction based MMORPG set in a high fantasy world. One of the reasons that I started Intrepid Studios to create Ashes of Creation is because I myself am a gamer. I've been a gamer playing MMORPGs since I was 7 years old, and I've really never experienced a community quite like what MMORPGs have to offer. It's a diverse community. There's a lot of people involved. I mean, thousands of players from across the world, and it was just such a passion of mine to be able to experience that involvement in a game like an MMORPG. Over the past several years, having played MMORPGs, I was kind of not impressed with what has been coming out of the genre. A lot of pay-to-win, cash grab style games, and I just felt that there could be something better. And if you want to get things done right, sometimes you just have to do them yourself. So in order to accomplish these goals for Ashes of Creation, I really needed to find a team that had a lot of experience with MMORPG production in the past, because as you know, an MMORPG is a massive project. There's a lot of good talent here, and we were able to pull together a pretty amazing team, a team that's worked on Star Wars Galaxies, EverQuest 2, Call of Duty, and a lot of other titles. The reason we're here on Kickstarter is because we want to expand the scope of our project. We want to make it bigger and better. We also want to give an opportunity to you to participate in that community development, to be in on our discussions of design. We feel that Kickstarter and crowdsourcing is a pretty good avenue towards that development. Ashes of Creation is really about four primary pillars of our development. It's about our node system, which is an integral part of exactly how the world works and interacts with you as the player. It's also about our meaningful conflict, PvP, and how you can catalyze change in the environment around you. The economy is our third pillar, which focuses on incentivizing you as the player to get out in the world and interact with it. And last, but most important, potentially, is our narrative. The narrative really holds all of those systems together in keeping you as the player interested in exactly what different outcomes come about.
When players first arrive on this world, they're going to find it devoid of civilization. There's wilderness everywhere, and it's up to the players to kind of bring civilization to this world. These nodes are how players do that. There are tons of nodes throughout the world, and each of them has a zone of influence. This zone of influence captures all the activity of the different players doing different things. It could be crafting, it could be fighting, it could be gathering. Anything that might give you experience is something that the node's going to be paying attention to. And as you level up your character, the node levels up with you. And as it levels, more and more civilization gets attracted to that area.
We want the world to react to the player. That's the most important part, is the world is reacting to your actions.
Different nodes attract different events. The world doesn't stay quiet for long, and civilization disturbs deep and dark things throughout it. A city that grows up on the side of a mountain might dig a little bit too deep and might disturb the things that are below. And that might include like a giant dragon that erupts with a volcano and lays down waste to that node that developed there. And that's something that wouldn't happen any other place. That's an event that's unique to that particular node at that particular time. And because of that, like, players are going to experience this game very differently depending on how they build it. Each server is going to have its own story, and we're pretty excited to see what players do with that. How do they react to that dragon coming out that mountain? Do they pack up their bags and move? Or do they decide to fight it, to gather all of their friends and take down this monster because this is their home? So that's what differentiates our game from most others. It reacts to what the players do. It reacts to the player's decision.
While you're developing these points of civilization, there is a mechanic for change, and change relating to that meaningful conflict.
Because players are motivated by different things, because they want something from the game that other players don't want. That's going to cause people to butt heads. Different players are going to want different experiences, and the conflict between the two of them will create a bigger and better thing. Out of strife comes rebirth, and that's a core symbol, it's a core theme that occurs throughout the game.
Our castle system, our sieges against nodes, the caravan system, battlegrounds that exist, guild wars. We want there to be a meaning to this conflict. We want players to actually have some skin in the game when it comes to participating in PvP. If you own a home in a node and you don't want to see that home destroyed, you need to defend that city. Risk versus reward is what gives you that adrenaline. It gives you that meaning to participate. So what drives you as a player in the game? For a lot of people, it's the economy, and that's why it's our third pillar. We really want the economy to incentivize you to interact with other players, to get out there and get resources to develop the world. We've regionalized our marketplaces. We've regionalized our warehouses. It's not just one global auction house like a lot of games kind of throws the economy to the side. I wanted to emphasize economy.
One major feature in our economy that differs from most fantasy-style MMOs is that we're not approaching it from a global scale. Rather, we're trying to carve the world up into regions and make each one focus independently, while of course at the same time working together. The global auction house isn't something that you're going to find in our game at the early stages, or maybe ever. Rather, you're going to have to go to a town, you're going to have to buy, sell, or gather whatever you want. What this creates is a competitive advantage, much like we have in the real world. Some towns, some areas are going to be better at certain things, some are going to be worse at some things. But the important part is that you get to play a role in who's better at what and who's worse at what. And if you want to be better at something, we're giving you the opportunity to become better at whatever you want.
Creating those regional marketplaces, regional warehouses, we've incentivized the transit of goods. If you want to create local marketplaces or you want to create a local economy, you can do so because that mithril mine is nearby, and it's not found somewhere else. The caravan system is what allows you to transit goods to other marketplaces.
The economy is usually something that happens in the background of other games, and from day one, we knew that the economy was going to be something really important to us.
The fourth pillar in Ashes of Creation is our narrative, the story, and how it relates to you, both as an individual and as a member of the greater community.
In Ashes of Creation, we've got three main ways that we're going to be telling the story. One is tasks, one are events, and the final one is our overarching narrative. The narrative is going to be where you find most of the story.
Each server will tell a different story, and this story is going to be told by the players. You're going to experience things differently when it comes to what bosses you've encountered because of how the world develops and how you have developed it.
The node system is going to be what drives what storyline branches players experience. Different NPCs are going to be attracted to different nodes. There's going to be different protagonists and antagonists based on how players build their world. It's all going to relate to the same basic story, but you're going to get different viewpoints on different servers, and you're going to find different bad guys on different servers. It's all going to depend on what players uncover, how they uncover it, and when they uncover it. Different servers are going to be able to talk to each other and figure out kind of what they missed and fill in the blanks and be able to collaborate and build this bigger meta story that you won't get otherwise in other games. So with all of these four main pillars of design, you'll notice that it's really hard for us to talk about any one of them without talking about all of the others. And that's a very core part of our design. It's really important that all of these pieces fit together really well and that they create an engine that allows people to keep experiencing new things.
So I want to give you an opportunity here on our Kickstarter to get involved in this project, to become a part of its development. We have enough self-funding to create a core viable product in Ashes of Creation, but we really want to expand it. We want to make it bigger and better, and we know we can achieve that with your help.
Everybody here at Intrepid Studios is incredibly excited about this project, and we're really hoping that we've infected you with that kind of excitement too. We want to get this thing done, and we want to include everybody to be a part of it. This is going to be a different game, and this is going to change the genre. So if you're as excited as we are, let's do this thing. Let's make this thing happen, because we can only do it with you.
I've been on the other side of that screen. I've seen companies come to Kickstarter and promise the world, and either under-deliver or just don't deliver at all. But the reality is we're not those people. I brought together a team of industry veterans who've spent over 40 years combined working on MMORPGs and have created some pretty amazing titles. That's what we're going to do here with Ashes of Creation. We're going to create an amazing game, a game that you can be proud of. Hey everyone, my name is Steven Sharif, and I'm the creative director here at Intrepid Studios. Many of you have seen our MMORPG in development, Ashes of Creation. Well, I'd like to take you through part 1 in a series of videos that will explain probably the most important system in the game, our node system. This system is what enables players to develop the world around them, affecting everything from the story of the world to the content that players experience. All throughout the world in Ashes of Creation exist nodes. These nodes at first exist behind the scenes, unknown to the players as collection points for activities. These nodes are divided into zones of influence, or ZOIs as we call them, represented here by the different colored areas, and within each zone is a node as shown. A node represents a specific location where a camp can form and gradually be developed into a village, then a town, to a city, and eventually a metropolis. Every activity a player participates in will fall within a specific node's ZOI, and these activities will contribute to that specific node's development. This is important because only so many nodes can be developed, and certain content is locked behind which nodes develop. This can create conflict between different communities that have a vested interest in the development of certain nodes. When you first enter the world, you will arrive through one of the great divine gateways. These portals are remnants of the civilizations that once inhabited this world. Your ancestors fled their home in haste, and now an eternity has passed, and these divine gateways have opened once again, leading you back to the world of your origin. As our players begin to explore their surroundings, they will find a world teeming with valuable resources, complex quests, and monstrous foes. In this case, one of our players has found some ore to mine, which allows her to progress her artisan class by collecting materials from the world. This other player has begun to harvest wood he needs for building supplies to construct a home on the hillside. As they collect these materials, they are both gaining character experience while at the same time contributing experience to the node that resides within this specific zone of influence. As players participate in more activities, this node will collect enough experience to advance to the next stage of development. All the activity in this area has brought the base node to stage 1 in its development. We call this the NPC stage. Until now, this node was unknown. But the arrival of these NPCs unlocks access to new activities for the players, and as the node continues to progress through each level, it will attract more NPCs, which will provide evolving content that reflects this specific node's location. Let's fast forward to a level 4 node, the town stage. Notice that a new monster is threatening our newly formed town. If this node had not been developed, it may have never revealed itself. The world itself is reacting to the advancement of specific nodes. This town was advanced near forests and mountains, drawing the attention of the sinister creatures that dwell within. If the town had been formed along the coast, perhaps this fisherman would have caught something more dangerous than the fish you see here. The content that exists in Ashes connects in some way to the location and advancement of the node system. It reaches level 5, becoming a city, and some new events are happening in the world. A bridge has been built to connect this area to a neighboring node. This will add a potential trade route that our caravan system will take advantage of, connecting two neighboring nodes and allowing for economic prosperity for players to capitalize on. However, all of this activity has triggered something deep within the mountain. All of this civilization has awoken an ancient dragon. The higher stage a node advances, the more significant events it draws toward it. Epic world bosses will reflect the development of specific nodes and their location. Our world is designed to react to the players by providing new and exciting chapters to an ever-evolving story. A story that reflects the actions of each server. A story that can change and adapt to provide the players an immersive tale woven by the actions of the community. This dragon is the server's dragon, part of the server's tale, and one which might not be seen on any other server. The players now must react to this evolving threat. Thankfully, these players are up to the task, and taking down this dragon has again contributed to the node, furthering its development. From the first stage of a few wandering merchants to the sixth stage of a sprawling metropolis, nodes redefine the world around them, influencing points of interest in the world, quest lines, story arcs, drop tables and resource pools, even the spawn tables for bosses and NPCs across the world. This cycle of nodes leveling, triggering events, and leveling again is the fundamental cycle of growth throughout Ashes of Creation. The world you see reflected on your server will depend entirely on where players decide to plant their roots, and the events and structures that fill the world will be a direct result of where and when nodes evolve. Even we aren't sure where players will take things, which makes this project exceptionally exciting for all of us. We focused here on the growth of nodes in order to show how the base functionality works, but in upcoming videos we'll delve into the sieging and possible destruction of nodes, how player-run governments of nodes work, and how regions grow. I hope you've enjoyed part 1. And if you'd like to get involved in our development, you can register on our website at ashesofcreation.com or follow us on YouTube and join our community Discord. Thanks for watching part 1 in our series on nodes. Hey everyone, this is Stephen Sharif, Creative Director here at Intrepid Studios. Welcome to part 2 of our Node series. If you haven't already, I'd recommend you take a look at part 1 in our 4-part video series on nodes. It's a great introduction to the system's overall purpose and design. The Metropolis, the pinnacle of civilization. A symbol of the power and ingenuity of the people, it is wilderness conquered, mastered, and remade in your own image. The Metropolis is effectively the culmination of the node system. It's the biggest thing that players can bring into being and the final level of civilization's development on this forgotten world. The Metropolis requires a large amount of resources to develop and maintain, and because of how nodes relate to one another, there can be no more than 5 in existence at a time. So you might naturally ask, what does it do? To answer that question, we need to know what civilization offers in general. Every stage of a node's development comes with additional services and benefits, and these services really start to pick up at stage 3, the village stage. One of the foremost services that a node offers is housing, and through that, citizenship. And citizenship is a big deal. There are 3 primary means of acquiring housing. The first is our in-node housing. It's here that players can begin buying static housing. These buildings belong to the node, and as a node levels up, the housing levels up with it. A player will be able to purchase a small one-room house at the village stage. When the node advances up to a town, so does that house. The owner enjoys the benefits of a suddenly larger home. His property size increases, his house is located more towards the center of town, and the square footage of his home has gone up considerably. There's new property available at the town stage, but this new property is more akin to what was available at the previous stage, small and modest. Now when the node advances up further, this time to a metropolis, this all happens again. The player's house, already sizable, grows into a mansion. The number of mansions in a metropolis will be the same number of small homes that were available in this metropolis's village stage. Only those houses that existed at the village level will ever become these main street mansions. So effectively at each stage the node advances, you will see the existing homes advance as well. This makes getting in early for a node pretty important, and introduces a real estate aspect to owning in-node property. I know what you're thinking, and the answer is yes, you can sell these properties. These in-node housing options are at a premium, and we expect these to be hotly contested. But if you want to be a citizen, and there are no more in-node housing spots available, you do have some options. For instance, at the town stage and above, your node's politicians will have the option to open up instanced apartments. These are internal-only spaces which can be decorated to your desire. Different price points will offer different sized apartments, and apartment rentals will also offer citizenship. They won't have external spaces to build out, and they aren't quite as prestigious as in-node housing, but they'll still offer some housing functionality to those who really want to be a citizen of a specific node. The final type of housing available are our freeholds. These plots of property can be built anywhere within a node's zone of influence, and only after a node reaches stage 3. These are sizable plots of land that all sorts of structures can be built on. Inns and taverns, forges, smelters, lumber yards, mills, stables, are all things that you might find on a freehold. These plots of land are where a player can really get creative with their buildings. Because they're built within a node's zone of influence, they grant citizenship as well. The larger the node, the bigger the zone of influence is, which means more freeholds can be built. As you may know, nodes have 4 different types: scientific, economic, militaristic, and divine. These types unlock different buildings at each level of a node's progression, contributing progressively larger benefits at each stage of a node's development. At the metropolis stage, these benefits are so wide-reaching that a scientific metropolis will feel very different from an economic metropolis, and a divine metropolis very different from a militaristic one. Not only will these cities feel different, but the regions these giant cities belong to will feel different as well. Different types of metropolises will have specific ultimate bonuses. For example, a scientific metropolis will offer fast travel to nodes within its zone of influence. This is big because there is very little fast travel in the game. A world with even just one scientific metropolis will feel and act much differently than a world without it. Similarly, an economic metropolis brings world-changing functionality to the table. Normally markets are local, and players can buy from and sell to only players who are in the same node. Economic metropolises break that convention, and they have the capability to build a market that integrates with all the nodes in their zone of influence, providing for a far larger market than any other metropolis could hope for. Divine and militaristic nodes also break world convention in one way or another. In other words, everything changes once a node reaches the metropolis stage. Along with those benefits, node type also determines the type of government that a node has. The most traditional government comes from the scientific node, which allows the citizens to come together and choose their leaders. The divine type allocates its leaders through service-oriented quests, quests that directly help others and their node, quests that prove their faith and dedication to the node. Economic type governments are run by an elite oligarchy. These positions can be bought and sold, so if you want to rule an economic type node, make sure your coin purse is heavier than your competition. Finally, the militaristic type is ruled by combat. Whoever are the last ones standing have proven their worth to lead by iron fist and sharpened blade. These warriors can only be removed from office by citizens who are better and more bloodthirsty than they. Once a leader is chosen, they have a lot to do. Outside the basic services that a node provides, leaders must choose what other service buildings to construct, which means they should have a clear plan for what they want to accomplish during their tenure. Some buildings might simply provide a zone-wide bonus to their citizens. Others might provide expanded markets. Some may increase a node's ability to defend against a siege. There is only so much space for these kinds of buildings, so the leadership will need to choose well in order to keep their citizens happy. Along that same line, leaders will need to tax their populations to provide these services, to construct these buildings, and to keep node atrophy at bay. Too much and their populations will abandon them. Too little and the node will decay and delevel. Savvy leaders can supplement their node's income with trade routes and trade agreements with other nodes. Be sure to provide some armed escorts for those caravans. Absentee leaders need not apply, as every leader can be replaced in the next election cycle. Citizens and only citizens reap the reward of the metropolis, gaining the benefits that their taxes pay for. Additionally, citizens can gain titles according to their position within society. Most of these are reserved for those who have been with the metropolis longest, but latecomers can earn their way to the top with enough effort and guile. Only citizens can participate in government and the different election processes. If their leaders have built marketplaces, citizens can set up shop there by purchasing time from the city and paying taxes on the goods they've sold. In Ashes of Creation, what is built can be destroyed, and metropolises are no different, but we feel that the effort to destroy something must be equitable with the effort to build something. Because of this, the higher level a node is, the more difficult and challenging the task of initiating a siege becomes. That means that sieging a metropolis will be an act of epic and world-shattering proportions. The success or failure of that siege will be written into the history books and likely impact every person on that server. Should it succeed, the metropolis will be deleveled or even destroyed, erasing the global benefits that it once provided, while at the same time opening up the opportunity for another node to take its place. Maybe one of a different type, maybe one led by a tyrant, or maybe none at all. Should that siege fail, that means that the hopes and dreams of the attackers, who should be legion in number, have been thwarted, and the status quo will endure. As I said in the beginning, metropolises are the pinnacle of civilization. They represent this through their size, through their systems, and through their citizens. Their weight is felt across the world, and once one is established, everything will change. For the better or for the worse? Well, that's up to you. I hope you have enjoyed this overview of the metropolis. We have so much to share with you about Ashes during our development. Everyone here at Intrepid Studios is so appreciative of the support that you all have shown us, and it means so much to have you with us along the way. Please subscribe to our social media outlets and make sure to register on our website for updates. Our Kickstarter begins May 1st. We look forward to building Ashes of Creation into the MMORPG that we can all be proud of.